Royal Central Praise RCP, broadcasting from St. Kitts, is a 24-hour gospel internet station with live TV and streaming company with dial-up radio coming soon. The station is totally locally and privately owned. The aim of RCP is to promote Caribbean gospel artists, churches and business organizations, not only in St. Kitts, but across the Caribbean, with its motto being Reach, Communicate and Proclaim, which also fits into its acronym RCP. Royal Central Praise Radio and TV endeavors to build community by bringing people together with communication and production programs which are reflective of the country's local talents, which are relevant to its interests of our listeners. One mission, different areas to lead, launch, liberate and love. RCP Radio and TV, Building One Kingdom, found on www.royalcentralpraiselive.com. Those who wish to donate or give a love offering for the ministry of RCP, please click on Donate on the homepage of the website. Royal Central Praise, RCP Internet Radio, dial-up radio coming soon and television, transmitting from St. Kitts. Each one, reach one. Royal Central Praise, let there be light. Health Education and Counseling Institute HECOIN, the premier online educational institution in the Caribbean, presents Come and Relax with HECOIN this and every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. in Jamaica or 8:30 p.m. EST. The invigorating program will feature aspects of health, counseling including mental health and aggression in proximity relationships APR, marketing, media, music, theology, generational wealth, and any other area that is topical and relevant to you, the listening audience. Join host, health educator and health administrator, media and marketing consultant, theologian, professor of media studies, and former host of the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM Jamaica, Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O'Neill Jarrett from Jamaica, as he delves into these topics. He's president and CEO of the 33-year-old flagship training institution HECOIN. He's in the second generation of leadership of the organization. The date to remember, Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. in Jamaica or 8:30 p.m. EST on Royal Central Praise RCP Internet Radio and TV on the following platforms: www.royalcentralpraiselive.com, Central Praise SKB YouTube, or Central Praise SKB Facebook. Come and Relax with HECOIN is sponsored by Health Education and Counseling Institute HECOIN, the premier online institution for post-secondary education from online certificate to PhD. Call or WhatsApp HECOIN at 1-876-223-7204 or visit its website at HECOINglobal.com. HECOIN, reaching people where they are, leading them to where they should go. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You are listening to this 1-hour program, Come and Relax, with HECOIN streaming live on 10 international radio and TV stations with thousands of viewers and listeners now tuned in. Your host and anchor, Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O'Neill Jarrett, has over 30 years' experience as a broadcaster and educator. Before you fasten your seatbelts, call 5 persons to tune in. I am former Minister of Education for the Turks and Caicos Islands, the Honorable Karen Malcolm. Relax and enjoy this HECOIN sponsored program.
Great music from international concert pianist, Reverend Dr. Huntley Brown, who is from Brownstown in St. Anne, Jamaica, now living in the USA. We are standing on holy ground, for we are standing in his presence on holy ground. Good evening to you from Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, and other parts of the world. Good night or good morning. Welcome to Come and Relax with HECOIN, which is aired this and every Thursday at this time. Welcome, and we are pleased to have you joining with us in this segment. I greet you well from the studios of Royal Central Praise, RCP Internet Radio and Television, in Basseterre, St. Kitts and Nevis, through its president and CEO, Minister Leroy Weeks, which is the main platform through www.royalcentralpraiselive.com, channel 1 for audio and visual, and through its Facebook and YouTube platforms, Central Praise SKB. Minister Weeks continues to commit himself to programs of HECOIN. We thank you, sir. Also, the other internet radio and TV platforms that are tuned in now. TDN TV on vstreams.com, TDN TV on Facebook, TDN Network 1 on YouTube, UFDV Gospel, and DCM Internet Radio and TV. We are saturating the entire world through various international media houses. Welcome to all of them. I'm your host, Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O'Neill Jarrett, President and CEO of Health Education and Counseling Institute HECOIN, the sponsor of this program. Hurricane season is upon us, June 1 to November 30. Here is a tip for you along with our promo for today. Royal Central Praise RCP Internet Radio and TV in Basseterre, St. Kitts and Nevis presents a timely hurricane season preparedness tip, June 1 to November 30. Keep in stock extra plastic bags and sheets of plastic. Plastic is essential to protect important documents, painting, equipment, and furniture from getting wet. This is a timely hurricane season preparedness tip for you, sponsored by HECOIN, the premier online polytechnic of the Caribbean. Visit its website at www.hecoinglobal.com. Disasters don't wait. Make your plan today. The Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting has just concluded in Kigali, Rwanda, with 53 countries represented. Did the meeting focus more on the race of who will be the Secretary General or on speakers who addressed the fora, or did it meet the goals set out for such a high-level conference? Come and relax with HECOIN, the voice of Health Education and Counseling Institute, the premier online international training institution. We'll look at this historic event with two illustrious gentlemen who have served in diplomatic positions. Join former representative from Jamaica to the United Nations Security Council, Ambassador Curtis A. Ward, and former U.S. diplomat who served as Jamaican ambassador to China and the United States, and the permanent representative of Jamaica to the Organization of American States, OAS, Ambassador Ralph S. Thomas. Join host, marketing and media specialist, educator, and professor of media studies for over 30 years, Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O. Jarrett from Jamaica, as he discusses with two distinguished ambassadors on the impact of the just concluded Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. The date to remember, Thursday, July 7, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. in Jamaica or 8:30 p.m. EST on various international platforms all across the world, including the websites, Facebook, and YouTube channels on RCP Internet Radio and TV, DCM, UFDV Gospel, and all platforms of TDN. HECOIN, reaching people where they are, leading them to where they should go. Wow, wow, wow. Welcome back to Come and Relax with HECOIN. The first Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, CHOGM, was held in 1971 in Singapore, and there have been 26 held in total, the most recent in Kigali, Rwanda. They are held once every 2 years, although this pattern has occasionally been interrupted. They also held around the Commonwealth, rotating by invitation amongst its members. In the past, the CHOGMS has attempted to orchestrate common policies on certain contentious issues and current events, with a special focus on issues surrounding and affecting member nations. The Commonwealth meetings have discussed the continuation of apartheid rule in South Africa and how to end it, military upheavals in Pakistan and Fiji, and allegations of electoral fraud in Zimbabwe. Sometimes the member states agree on a common idea and solution and release a joint statement declaring their opinion. Beginning in 1997, the meeting has had an official theme set by the host nation on which the primary discussions have been focused. The theme for 2022 was delivering a common future, connecting, innovating, transforming. This theme highlights how the 54 member countries in the Commonwealth family are innovating, connecting, transforming to help achieve some of its biggest goals, like protecting natural resources and boosting trade. It was chosen because Commonwealth countries are connected by deep-rooted networks of friendship and goodwill. Not true. In an earlier meeting of CARICOM meetings, it was decided that Baroness Patricia Scotland would be given an additional 2 years to complete her term as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier this year, Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness agreed that Jamaica's Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, should enter the race. This had mixed feelings in CARICOM. Both Baroness Scotland and Senator Johnson-Smith entered the race, and on Friday, June 24, after secret ballots were counted, the incumbent was elected for the next 2 years. There are many questions without answers, still lingering in the minds of many, and today's discussion should be able to shed some light on these issues. Our esteemed guests today are former Jamaican ambassador and deputy permanent representative to the United Nations with responsibility for security affairs, Ambassador Curtis A. Ward, and former Jamaican diplomat who served as Jamaican ambassador to China and the United States, and the permanent representative of Jamaica to the Organization of American States, OAS, Ambassador Ralph S. Thomas. Holy ambassadors in the house tonight. When we return, off with our guests to the boardroom of Come and Relax with HECOIN. Soon come. Do you want to study in a recession-proof career online? Health Education and Counseling Institute HECOIN offers international diplomas in phlebotomy technician, emergency medical technician, dental technician, and pharmacy technician, which are internationally recognized. We have intakes every other month. Visit www.hecoinglobal.com or call our WhatsApp 876-223-7204. HECOIN, your dreams can now be your reality. A timely devotion with a difference called A Word in Time on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. Join His Excellency Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O. Jarrett from Jamaica, bringing a mix of sacred gospel music along with the spoken word. That's A Word in Time, a breath of fresh air on the station Royal Central Praise SKB. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays 9 a.m. repeated at 9 p.m. A Word in Time, a breath of fresh air. Welcome back to Come and Relax with HECOIN. Greetings, Ambassador Curtis A. Ward and Ambassador Ralph S. Thomas.
Greetings to you, sir.
Ambassador Ralph, I'm not hearing you. I think you're muted.
Yes, let me unmute.
Very well.
And say good night. And it's happy to be here and welcome my friend Master Curtis Ward and to see you here tonight. Wonderful.
Very well.
Good to see you, Ambassador Thomas.
Three ambassadors in the room. I don't know if we have had such an occasion before. Greetings, my brothers. Great having you both on our show today as we examine the relevance of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings, the last one ending the weekend of June 24, 2022 in Rwanda. Now, Ambassador Ward, I want to start with you. As we examine the Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings, which started in 1971 in Singapore, and the 26th conference just concluded on June 26 this year, how relevant have you found these Commonwealth meetings over the years, excluding the one last month?
You're asking me how relevant they are. Well, you know, one of the things I see coming out of these conferences is really an identification of the many issues facing the international community and certainly the 54, now 56 members of the Commonwealth group.
Ambassador, before you continue, you said 54, now 56. Which two have joined in?
Gabon and somebody else, I forget which one.
Thank you for that correction, sir.
They admitted 2 new states at this head.
Okay.
They issued a 22-page communique. And upon careful reading, all it really does is to identify every possible issue you can think of that is plaguing the international community at the moment. They recognize these issues, they speak about these issues, but nowhere in the communique do they explain how and on what timeline should Commonwealth member states seek to implement some of the things that they see need to be done. There is no mechanism, as far as I could tell, within the system to ensure that these things are carried out. And only at the secretariat level will they be able, based on their resources, to help countries to move some of these things forward. But I would say, if you're looking for a document that identifies all the things that ails our world, it's in that communique.
Well said, Ambassador, well said. The heads underscored, Ambassador Thomas, the importance of connecting, innovating, and transforming in order to facilitate a full recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, achieve the 2030 agenda, and to respond to conflicts and crises in ways that increase resilience and progress in the delivering a common future underpinned by sustainability, peace, and prosperity to improve the lives of all the people of the Commonwealth. Do you think that this objective was met, Ambassador Thomas, and why?
Well, the first thing is that the institution, by its very nature, is a political institution. And therein is a problem, because they are solving problems from a political point of view to speak of issues, as Ambassador Ward talked about the shopping list that was put out in their communique. And they certainly got the issues right, but without priority. So on these specific issues here, there really is no, again, implementation, no project, no funding, no direct action steps that assure that these things will take place. And so they are very lofty words. Now, to the extent that they can inspire individual countries, member countries, the 56, to actually take on a particular initiative along that line, then it is possible. Or if groups of heads of state come together in a local area and work together. For example, if CARICOM, for example, were to pick from that list some key tenets to infuse, and also the forward-looking 2030 vision, that maybe they could turn it to the next step, because now they have the actual governmental organization to carry out some of those, but they lack the funding. So that is a challenge of the Commonwealth Heads of Government Forum, because of its lack of performance and maybe unrealistic expectations that they could do so.
And CARICOM, I think, just concluded their heads of government meeting in Suriname, I think it was, on Tuesday or Wednesday. Now, for Ambassador Ward, do you think this objective has been met, and why for this year?
Well, what I think basically is that the document that they put out, the communique, is a good guideline for civil society. I think civil society can hold their governments accountable based on the standards that they pronounce that they had, which they say they have adopted, basically. As far as the important issues that were discussed, they were buried under the weight of the contest for Secretary General. And so what they do in the months and years ahead in terms of implementation, although I saw nothing about implementation in the communique, will help us to assess the relevance of the outcome of the conference. I do believe that the Commonwealth Secretariat has to prove the relevance of the organization in the years ahead.
And that is the duty of a Secretary General or a secretary who is assigned to that kind of entity, certainly.
Yeah, but if I may add, when they come back 2 years from now,
they say it's the same thing.
They can repeat the same thing over because there is nothing to measure the implementation of these, whether by the Secretariat itself or by individual countries. And that's why I believe it's a good document for civil society.
But implementation. Very well. And I hear that coming out of both ambassadors. Embattled Prime Minister of UK, Boris Johnson, who has resigned and sitting in until a PM is elected, made a presentation at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting 2022, promising £370 million in global food security this year, including £130 million for the World Food Programme. Many leaders thought, well, this is a good gesture, and thank the UK PM. What of education? What of petroleum? What of technology? Ambassador Thomas?
Well, the first issue really regards resources for sustainable development, the plight of small island developing states, and the whole grouping, which is made up of many small countries and a few large ones. And so having resources to address the pandemic, for example, the issues of vaccine and vaccine availability was a topic, famine, and of course, we have issues of food security, and this is a drop in the bucket. It is certainly a welcome initiative to actually put some money on the table. Money is lacking, but it is a paltry sum given the historical role of the colonial power and the extraction that came out of that region that may be something far more magnanimous. But then, of course, the notion of whether or not there should be some short-term remedies for the rising petroleum prices, for example, that was also inadequate and not present. And in the area of technology and innovation, maybe other initiatives really need to be required because to support the development of these countries, and certainly for those less fortunate, to assist them in terms of using technology to drive food security, to drive better management and government, to drive better education and the role of women and inclusion, some of those aspirations that the organization has sponsored. So I think it's purely a PR issue, a drop in the bucket, it's small potatoes, but why not? The Commonwealth Heads of Government Secretariat lacks money. And so this certainly question is, where will these funds be routed through? Because they do work in cooperation with organizations of the United Nations. As we will see in the communique, they have mentioned those where the implementation mechanism may reside in those institutions. So we are yet to see how this flows through and gets to the ground.
Ambassador Ward.
Ambassador Thomas is absolutely correct. Where direct funding may be possible to a few countries, most of this will be going through international organizations. In particular, as it said, £130 million were earmarked for the World Food Programme. And there are others similar to that. But I wouldn't go to the bank on that promise by Boris Johnson because he won't be around to execute it. So I would forget that for now until some future prime minister repeat that pledge.
Thank you, ambassadors. We are looking at the relevance of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting held in Kigali, Rwanda in June this year. A relevant discussion at this time. We will take a break. The discussion continues. We'll be right back. Do you want to study in a recession-proof career online? Health Education and Counseling Institute HECOIN offers International Diploma in Patient Care Technician PCT, which is a combination of nursing assistant, phlebotomy, and electrocardiogram through the American Medical Certification Association AMCA, which is internationally accredited. Visit www.hecoinglobal.com or call our WhatsApp 876-223-7204. HECOIN, your dreams can now be your reality.
Hi, I'm Indra Jamnani, a proud graduate of HECOIN Montego Bay Campus, Jamaica, where I did a 6-month course in Elderly Care International Diploma Level 2. What I love about the program is that it was intriguing. The environment was soothing, and the tutors are registered nurses with degrees and have a wide knowledge of experience. I received credit in my theory and distinction in my practical, and will be pursuing a career in nursing. My experience on the practicum site was tremendous, because when I was on practical, everyone there thought I was already a certified nurse, and not knowing that I was just a student. HECOIN has an excellent payment plan. You don't have to worry about how you're going to pay your tuition fee. You don't have to borrow a student loan. No. All you need to do is get yourself registered, make your first payment, and then make monthly payments afterwards. HECOIN is one of the best nursing institutions to attend because their certifications are recognized internationally. Being a HECOIN graduate makes me a proud nurse, and with HECOIN, your dreams become reality. Choose HECOIN.
Boardroom. Come and relax with HECOIN. Our guests, former Jamaican ambassador and deputy permanent representative to the United Nations with responsibility for security affairs, Ambassador Curtis A. Ward, and former Jamaican diplomat who served as Jamaican ambassador to China and the United States and permanent representative of Jamaica to the Organization of American States, OAS, Ambassador Ralph S. Thomas. Baroness Patricia Scotland, a British peer born in Dominica, serving as Secretary General since April 2016, with the term of office of SGs established on a basis of a 4-year contract. Baroness Scotland's tenure would have come to a natural end in 2020. It was anticipated that a decision on future leadership, including a possible second term for the SG, permissible under the guiding principles, would be taken at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting scheduled for 2020 to be hosted in Rwanda. However, it was postponed as the advent of the novel coronavirus pandemic meant that the meeting was not feasible at that time. The next meeting was held in 2022. However, she was publicly declaring that she was in her second term of office. In addition, we note that the heads agreed to a short extension of the tenure of the Baroness in the hope that the meeting in Kigali, Rwanda's capital, would materialize in short order. Ambassadors, is it that she was asked to serve an additional term of office, which would have been 4 years, or an additional time until the next meeting? Ambassador Thomas, I'll start with you.
All right, when we start off with the context of the onset of COVID coincided with the end of her term, and the uncertainty about large meetings taking place and people traveling across the world. So there obviously was a state of uncertainty, and the Baroness stepped into the breach to continue. And of course, the expectation would be that pretty soon they would be able to convene a meeting and elect somebody up, a position which the Baroness was entitled to run for, because she's entitled to a second term if she can win it. Now, it's my interpretation then is that it's a matter of convenience, because the Baroness submits that I have started my 4-year term, and therefore I would need to formalize and continue the next 2 years. And of course, may not have gone with the expectation that she was ratified for 4 years, that she was really an interim head. So my take on it is that the Baroness statement is a matter of convenience to secure her second 2-year, not a full 4-year, which may not have been feasible, and also self-serving and therefore that it was not that she had 4 years, but she really was an interim leader. That's my take.
Ambassador Ward, I see you're ready to talk. Yes, sir.
No, actually, I was listening carefully to Ambassador Thomas, and he already answered the question. But no, I don't think it would have been reasonable for Baroness Thomas to Baroness Scotland, rather. I just made you a Baron, Ambassador.
I can hear the other side. You're kind.
That Baroness Scotland could have expected to serve beyond 8 years in total. That is the norm. There have been exceptions in the past. For instance, Sir Sridhar Ramphal served for, I forgot how many terms, but it was far in excess of 8 years. But it has become a tradition that one term plus a second term. In many international organizations, this is how it really plays out. So I don't think she could have expected anything beyond a total of 8 years. And the Kigali conference would have, what I'd say, sanctioned her second term, which would have begun 2 years prior to the Kigali conference. So I think the outcome is quite reasonable and should have been anticipated.
Okay. Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, supported the bid of his Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, to enter the race. A subcommittee of the CARICOM community, CARICOM, of about 4 leaders in the region was set up to iron out the issues between Baroness and Senator. However, Jamaica's PM was adamant that his senator would go through. Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, described Jamaica's stance as a monumental error in the process. If we are not united, divided, we fall. Do we see this playing out or played out during the conference? Ambassador Ward, I'll start with you.
One correction, though. The foreign minister's candidature was not merely supported by Prime Minister Holness. He nominated her. It was his candidate. So he put his full weight behind her. I have seen no report to suggest that the proposed subcommittee actually operationalized.
True.
I don't believe it made any sense in the first place. Because, as you said, the Jamaican Prime Minister was firm in his decision. And he was actually seen by some of his colleagues as being arrogant.
True.
and would not yield to their arguments. So it would make no sense even for the subcommittee to be operationalized. Prime Minister Gaston Brown was indeed correct to the extent that nominating the Jamaican foreign minister and the way it was done was a diplomatic faux pas. Such an action was inimical to the high standards of diplomatic statecraft for which Jamaica is reputed and the international community has come to expect. So I think the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda was correct. It was a monumental error.
Ambassador Thomas.
I would tend to concur with Ambassador Ward in terms of the clumsy execution and just a sense of collegiality that prevails in diplomatic circles. And where positions like these are being sought, the candidacy starts years before, where particular voting countries are solicited. Sometimes it requires a deal to be made, a trade-off. Well, I'll vote for your candidate for this, and you'll vote for my candidate for that. And so you secure this over some time, and it's done in a way you will come across, of course, conflicts of interest between countries, but they are sometimes declared. Sometimes they are very ambiguous, but that's the nature of diplomacy. This particular foray really was what we call probably a jump scare. It was a quick initiative. It was strongly held. It was led by a prime minister, and notwithstanding the candidate, the questions I think have not arisen about the ability or the qualifications of the candidate, but really the manner in which it was done. And that takes me to CARICOM and the important role that CARICOM plays in terms of diplomacy, political action globally, and securing as a bloc some benefits for our region. And that this CARICOM is effective when CARICOM works together. Over at the Organization of American States, the CARICOM bloc represents 1/3 of the votes. Nothing gets voted on over there and resolved without somebody talking to CARICOM. And when CARICOM works together, they generally have their interests built into it. So I think that the cost of doing what was done was a very high price to sacrifice CARICOM unity. And we've had incidents that have contributed to this. So I think it was maybe not here sufficiently calibrated and not executed in a manner that diplomacy would expect. Now we know that the field of diplomacy is changing, and some countries, including large countries, are behaving in some startling ways. So we're in sort of that environment globally anyway, where some of the rules and decorum of usual diplomacy are not playing out as well. But in this case, I think it was not a good idea to have gone against it in this case.
Okay. Co-chair of the meeting, Minister of Education.
Ambassador
Yes,
Thomas
yes,
was very diplomatic when he said it was not a good idea. I think Prime Minister Gaston Brown was a little less diplomatic and perhaps had it right.
Right words. Right words. Co-chair of the meeting, Minister of Education and National Reconciliation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Curtis King, said, and I quote, "It is critical for small states within the Commonwealth to have access to finance to enable them to confront and mitigate the challenges they face. A difficulty is poised when access to concessional financing for development is dependent upon income classification by international financial institution," and went on to say that these states would be excluded from concessional financing for development. End of quote. Ambassadors, you have been in diplomatic positions for a period of time spanning many years, maybe older than me. Is this really so? And why is this still on the table in 2022? Ambassador Ward, I want to start with you. You are muted, sir.
I was saying I was wondering why Minister of Education was co-chairing a meeting on finance.
I asked the same question too when I saw the clip. Yes.
But be that as it may, I start with your first. The current classifications by the International Financial Institution is extremely prejudicial to several Caribbean states, at least 5 of them which are ranked at the upper echelon of middle income states. And by that, they are restricted access to concessional financing, and they're denied access to loans at affordable rates. So at the 9th Summit of the Americas, changing this criteria was atop the Caribbean region priority list. President Biden and Vice President Harris committed to doing something about this problem. So I'm a bit hopeful that some changes will take place. And because Prime Minister Mia Mottley acknowledged that as one of the issues also in her presentation to the summit. So I think it being on the agenda in the Biden administration's policy towards the Caribbean region, that something can be done. And the US, with its voting power in the IFIs, do have the ability to make changes.
Ambassador Thomas.
Well, I think the issue of financing for small developing states, small open economies, remains a challenge to begin with. And then the classification now of their GDP, their income level, as a eligibility for special treatment is a very low ceiling. And once they start making progress, they're immediately denied access to lower cost financing. So concessional financing is to borrow at rates below market rates. And as you rise in the ranking of income, the country now has to go to the commercial market to raise funds. And when it borrows from the World Bank, the rates are set based upon commercial scale. So you're paying market rates and some risk premium also involved. The small countries, of course, lower income countries, their risk profile is in most cases quite high. Issues of debt burden, issues of financial sustainability and so on, repayment and so on, does require that the programs they put together have some elements that allow them to actually be able to support their debt, not just repay debt, but to pay the interest on debt, which can be a massive amount. So I think concessional financing remains an important element of insertion. I note quickly that regions have come together, and I wonder why the Commonwealths of Government as a bloc may not have created an organization, because in other places in Asia, they have created the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, where 44 countries have pooled their 100 billions of capital for infrastructure. And that, of course, turns into multiple trillions of dollars with that amount of capital. We see another one being formed by the BRIC countries that have just announced that they're coming together. They're putting together $44 million of capital. And you leverage that, there's a lot of money. So I think we need to, in this space about concession financing, it should not just be begging for a lower rate, but we should be more innovative and creative in structuring new programs and institutions that can pool funds to the benefit of these needy countries. And I think that is the beginning of a sustainability agenda that we should be talking about.
When we come back, we'll look at where does this position Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith in her future position in Jamaica, and will she run again? Only time will tell. We'll take a break. Don't move. We'll be right back.
Health Education and Counseling Institute HECOIN offers certificates in housekeeping, food and beverage, customer care, security guard, events planning, and many other short courses, which are all offered online with 8 intakes each year. Visit www.hecoinglobal.com or call our WhatsApp 876-223-7204. HECOIN, reaching people where they are, leading them to where they should go. Royal Central Praise RCP Internet Radio and TV in St. Kitts invites you to listen to Caribbean News Brief CNB on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Join Caribbean veteran in news production and news presentation for over 30 years, Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O'Neill Jarrett from Jamaica, for reliable and comprehensive news in the Caribbean. CNB on RCP every Tuesday and Friday at 10 in the morning. RCP, the breath of fresh air.
Staying with us on
Reverend Jarrett, if I may just say.
Yes, sir.
If I was exercising good sense, I would have yielded all of my time to Ambassador Thomas on that subject. And I tell you, CARICOM governments ought to engage Ambassador Thomas so he can explain to them what they need to do, because he has it right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The race for the SG of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting held in Rwanda 2 weeks ago had the incumbent Baroness Scotland winning 27 votes, while Jamaica Senator Johnson-Smith lost by 3 votes, making it 27-24. In light of the election results, do you see Senator being effective in her substantive role representing Jamaica at the highest level, especially meeting with diplomats who did not support her in her bid for SG? Would you recommend that she runs at the 2024 Commonwealth meetings? 2 questions. Ambassador Ward, start with you.
Well, as to being effective, the foreign minister will have to mend some fences, beginning with her colleagues in the region. I don't believe they hold any animosity towards her personally, but they will be wondering whether she can be trusted un-Jamaican government representations to them. It more of a distrust of the government that could prove difficult to overcome. And she will have to be proactive in her efforts to rebuild what little confidence in Jamaica's foreign policy that existed before this misadventure. As to being a future candidate, absolutely not. It will be Africa's turn to field a candidate, and any attempt to oppose that would not only set a precedent, and a bad one at that, but it would destroy any credibility and respect Jamaica has left globally. It will severely undermine the goodwill that has been built up over decades with African governments and the people of Africa. It will also bring CARICOM member states into a very uncomfortable position of choosing between loyalty to a regional colleague or to their own integrity globally. To me, it's morally untenable.
Ambassador Thomas, in light of time, just add to that, please, because I see you moving in the chair as if you're ready to go. Yes, sir.
I would say that I tend to follow the view of Ambassador Ward, because in the risk of running in that environment, going against Africa when there's an agreement or a consensus, we bad, and the divisions that we now have in CARICOM, I believe that the time should be spent mending fences and rebuilding, of course, trust. I think the foreign minister has potential to serve and has a desire to serve in some capacity, and maybe there are other places that the foreign minister can apply those skills for the benefit of the world. So I think that I concur that she ought not to run in 2024 based on what we are seeing now.
All right. Thank you. As we close, the question is, what have we learned from the race for the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, especially for our young people? We all lecture. Two of you are lecturers too. What good came out of the race that can guide the young people into the future? 30 seconds, Ambassador Thomas. 30 seconds, Ambassador Ward.
Ambassador Thomas.
Ambassador Thomas. You're accustomed to the name Baron, is it? Ambassador Thomas.
Well, accept it. Any other title he wishes to give me. But let me say that we are excited by contests generally in the world. There is visibility coming out of it, not always the visibility we want, positive visibility, but I believe there's a greater awareness of this institution and the potential of the institution. And I wish that the discussion that was leading to the candidature would have been about the vision for the Commonwealth government mission and so leadership rising from this. I see young people seeing other persons that they can identify with, and not younger persons also aspiring for leadership. That can have a knock-on effect also, and the possibility of Jamaica having this role.
Thank you, sir. Ambassador Ward.
I think first and foremost, it is not merely the qualifications of the candidate that matters, but adherence to an orderly process. A lot depends on integrity and diplomatic statecraft, and a clear understanding that the global stage is not a place for amateurish behavior and naivete. Orderly international relations is the art of fostering comity among states at all times, not just when it is convenient and self-serving. That is lesson number one for Jamaica.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's a global request and talk to our young people and to anybody who wants to go into any form of representation globally. We have come to the end of Come and Relax with HECOIN today. Thanks to our guests, former Jamaican Ambassador and Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations with responsibility for security affairs, Ambassador Curtis A. Ward, and former Jamaican diplomat who served as Jamaican Ambassador to China and USA, and the Permanent Representative of Jamaica to the Organization of American States, OAS, Ambassador Ralph S. Thomas. God bless you both, gentlemen, and we'll be calling on you again.
Thank you, sir, for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good to see you.
You're welcome, sir. We'll now have our promo with Come and Relax with HECOIN, the donation promo.
Come and Relax with HECOIN is a feature of Health Education and Counseling Institute HECOIN, the premier online educational institution in the Caribbean. For individuals, companies, and foundations that wish to donate or contribute to this program, which is primarily to provide solutions to the worldwide issues of the day, please call in or WhatsApp your donation. 1-876-223-7204 on Thursdays between 8:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. EST, or during work hours Monday through Friday 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. EST, or email president@hecoinglobal.com. HECOIN, reaching people where they are, leading them to where they should go.
First for next week is in the queue, coming up now.
Domestic violence has been with us for a very long time, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It is a life-threatening crime, yes, crime that affects millions of individuals across the world, regardless of age, economic status, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, ability, or education level. High-profile cases of domestic violence will attract headlines, but thousands of people experience domestic abuse every day. Not true? Come and Relax with HECOIN, the voice of Health Education and Counseling Institute, the premier online international training institution, will look at this very important topic of domestic abuse, which is on the lips of every Jamaican, Caribbean national, and the whole world. Our guests, Executive Director of the Jamaicans for Justice, Miss Michael Jackson, along with Executive Director of Jamaica Coalition Against Domestic Violence, Miss Moyne Williams. Joint host, Marketing and Media Specialist, Educator, International Chaplain, and Professor of Media Studies for over 30 years, Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O'Neill Jarrett from Jamaica, as he discusses with two experts in the field of domestic violence to help survivors to know that the abuse is not their fault, that they are not alone, and that help is available. The date to remember, Thursday, July 14, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. in Jamaica or 8:30 p.m. EST on various international platforms all across the world, including the websites, Facebook and YouTube on RCP International Radio and TV, DCM, UFDV, Gospel, and all platforms of TDN. HECOIN, reaching people where they are, leading them to where they should go. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Minister Leroy Weeks, President and CEO of RCP Internet Radio and Television, dial-up coming soon for his commitment to edifying people, and sat in studio for the duration of this broadcast. Kudos to you, sir. Also to the other TV and radio stations, TDN TV on vstreams.com, TDN TV on Facebook, TDN Network 1 on YouTube, UFDV Gospel, DCM Radio and TV on all its platforms. We close with this song, musical rendition, piano instrumental by Reverend Dr. Funtley Brown, international concert pianist. Because He Lives, I Can Face Tomorrow. Great piano rendition. A thought for you this week. Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. A quote from Helen Keller. Join us this and every Thursday at this time for Come and Relax with HECOIN, sponsored by HECOIN. I am Ambassador Professor Reverend Dr. Colin O'Neill Jarrett, President and CEO of the 33-year-old flagship institution in Jamaica, the Caribbean and beyond, Health Education and Counseling Institute, HECOIN. Please receive the benediction. The blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, rest, remain, and abide with us all, now and forevermore. Amen. Walk good, my friend.
No matter how difficult the day, how dark the hour, no matter the coronavirus, you can all make it. Why? Because Jesus lives and he promises to never leave you or forsake you. Because he lives, you can all face tomorrow. God bless you.